Ever get that feeling, when you've got something super important to say and you really, really want it to land?
Oh, absolutely. Like you want your message to truly resonate and have that impact.
Exactly. And a huge part of that, which we're diving deep into today, is your English accent.
This is for anyone who's ever thought about, hmm, how to sound more fluent in English or how to project more, you know, confidence or just make sure their message is crystal clear.
This is for you.
What's so cool about the sources we dug into for this deep dive is, well, they make you realize this is way beyond just like pronouncing words correctly.
It's deeper than that, right?
Yeah, it gets into like how we see ourselves, how other people see us, the whole psychology of communication. Is fascinating.
It is, and it's not just theoretical. Like, think about this guy, Arjun. Back in 2003, he was in Mumbai. Brilliant guy. Talk of his field, going to the States to give this big presentation to a tech company.
Okay, high stakes.
Huge. He knew his stuff backwards and forwards, but then right before he's about to start, someone makes this offhand comment like, "Hope we can understand him."
Oh, wow. I bet that did wonders for his confidence.
Totally deflated him. And the thing is, his vocabulary was amazing. Degrees from all the best schools. The only thing standing in his way at that moment was how his accent was perceived.
That's rough. So what happened?
Fast forward to now, and Arjun's a successful TEDx speaker. What changed? It wasn't his knowledge or background. It was the clarity and confidence in his voice.
That's a powerful example of how much this stuff can actually change. And it's not just anecdotal. Our sources also pointed to scientific research on this. For instance, there was this study from the University of Chicago, and it found that people tend to trust speakers who articulate clearly more.
Even when they're saying the exact same thing.
Yep, it's wild, right? And that brings us to a super important point for this deep dive. We're not trying to get you to adopt some kind of standard American or British accent. No way.
It's about something else then.
It's about clarity, consistency, and that confidence that comes from knowing people. Get what you're saying?
Why do you think that link between clear speech and trust exists, though? It's an interesting connection.
That's a good question. It could be that clear speech, it implies intentionality, like you've carefully thought out what you're saying.
Which projects competence, trustworthiness.
Exactly. It's like a formula. Clarity equals confidence, and confidence equals influence, just like we saw with Arjun. Okay, so let's break it down. What are the actual nuts and bolts of a clear English accent? It's more than just nailing those vowels, right?
Way more, yeah. Our sources laid out a few key components. First up, pronunciation.
Which boils down to, saying each sound accurately. So yeah, working on tricky sounds like th or those pesky vowels definitely helps. But it's really about getting the whole range of English sounds right.
Like each sound is a building block, and you've got to get the foundation strong.
Right. And after pronunciation, we've got intonation. Think of it as the music of your speech, the melody. And the thing about English is, it's a stress-timed language. So certain words in a sentence get more emphasis. This isn't random. It changes meaning and helps your listener follow along.
Oh, for sure. Like if you ask, "Are you going?" it means something totally different than "Are you going?" just by shifting the emphasis.
Exactly. Then we have pacing. It's a balancing act because you got to speak at a speed where people can keep up, but not so slow that it sounds robotic or like puts them to sleep.
Yeah. What are some of the pacing pitfalls people often fall into?
I'd say, well, sometimes folks talk a mile a minute when they get nervous.
That's me. Or maybe they pause too much, like every other word, which kind of breaks up the flow.
Totally. And then finally, there's this thing called linking and elision. Basically, it's how native speakers kind of mush words together in natural speech, like what do you often becomes what I.
So it's not that they're speaking faster, it's more about efficiency, right?
Yeah, it keeps things flowing smoothly.
Okay, so we've got these different elements, but how can someone actually figure out how clear their own speech is?
Our sources actually suggest some really cool tools. There are apps like Elsa Speak or Speechling. You can record yourself, and they give you feedback on your pronunciation and clarity.
I've tried a couple of those apps, and it's honestly pretty amazing to hear yourself objectively.
It can be really eye-opening. But, this whole thing about deliberately working on your accent, it can make some people uncomfortable.
I can see that, like they're somehow changing who they are.
Totally. And our sources address that head on. They suggest thinking of it not as losing your identity, but more as showing emotional intelligence. Like being able to communicate effectively with all kinds of people, it takes flexibility, right?
So adapting your speech is sort of like, I don't know, code switching. Or even just how you adjust your behavior in different situations.
Exactly. One source had this really cool analogy. It said, Your voice is like water. It takes the shape of whatever container it's in.
So our voices are naturally adaptable.
That's the idea. And there's this quote from Marcus Aurelius: adapt yourself to the life you have been given. Pretty profound, right?
Thinking about it that way, working on your communication skills, it's a way of showing self-respect. Like you're making sure your voice and what you have to say is heard.
Beautifully put.
Uh,
But all that said, we can't ignore that fear people have, that anxiety about making mistakes when they try to speak more clearly.
it can be super intimidating.
The sources actually talked about the science behind that fear. There's this part of the brain, the amygdala, which processes emotions, including fear. And then there's the prefrontal cortex, which is more about higher-level thinking, planning, and, confidence.
So it's like this internal battle between the two.
Totally. Have you ever noticed situations where that fear of speaking up really gets to people?
Oh, all the time. Like in meetings, when someone has a killer idea, but they hold back because they're worried about their accent.
The sources offer some tips for building confidence, though. One of the biggest ones is self-recording.
You mean like just talking to yourself?
Basically. I know it sounds weird, but it's amazing for tracking progress and spotting areas to work on. They also suggest getting as much real-life speaking practice as possible. Yeah, the more you do it, the easier it gets, right?
Exactly. It could be with other people, with AI chatbots, even just practicing in the mirror. They even talk about Amy Cuddy's work on power poses to boost confidence before speaking.
So, striking a confident pose can help you sound more confident. Interesting.
Apparently. But the most important thing, they emphasize, is to shift your focus. Don't get hung up on trying to sound perfect. Concentrate on connecting with people.
That makes sense. It's not about being perfect, it's about communicating.
100%. Okay, so we've covered the why and some of the basics of how. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of actually improving. Our sources mention something called the 3x3 method. Ring a bell.
Not really. What's that about?
Well, it's a system for making steady progress, and it's surprisingly simple. There are 3 key actions, and you do each one at least 3 times a week.
Okay, I'm listening. First, you learn 3 new English words, or focus on 3 sounds that give you trouble. Second, you have at least 3 real conversations in English. And third, you do 3 feedback loops. That means recording yourself, listening back, and figuring out what to improve.
So it's about building good habits, like a weekly routine.
Exactly. Consistency is key. Like working out, you're not going to get ripped after one gym session, right?
No, it takes time and effort.
Right. The sources also recommend some other techniques, like watching TED Talks, which exposes you to different, clear, engaging accents, or shadowing, listening to a line from, say, a Netflix show and then immediately repeating it.
Oh, that sounds fun. Like you're mimicking the actors.
Yep. And they said even just reading aloud for 10 minutes a day can make a huge difference. It builds what they call mouth muscle fluency.
Mouth muscle fluency.
Basically, training your mouth muscles to make English sounds naturally. Have you ever tried shadowing or reading aloud regularly?
I've dabbled in reading aloud. It definitely makes you more aware of how words feel in your mouth and the rhythm of sentences. Mouth muscle fluency is a great way to describe that.
Isn't it? It highlights the physical skill involved.
Yeah.
Like learning an instrument, you've got to practice those movements.
Exactly.
And yeah, they compared it to going to the gym. We were talking about that earlier. One workout won't transform your body, but over time.
Consistent effort pays off.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive, the main takeaway seems to be that developing a clearer, more confident English accent, it's not about changing who you are. It's about letting your true voice shine through.
Love that.
And building on that, our sources have a little challenge for you this week. Pick a short phrase and record yourself saying it, using your best English accent right now.
Okay.
Then record it again, but this time, focus on projecting confidence and clarity. It's a cool way to see the difference firsthand.
That's a great challenge. Really actionable for our listeners.
Exactly. Because there's a big difference between just saying words and truly delivering them with intention.
So true. Well, this has been an awesome deep dive. Thank you so much for joining me.
The pleasure was all mine. This whole exploration of accent and how much it affects communication and confidence has been fascinating.
And to our listener, we'll leave you with this. Think about what could open up for you if you felt more clear and confident in your voice. It's a powerful tool just waiting to be unleashed.
And remember, your voice deserves to be heard.
Speak clearly. Speak proudly.
Those are words to live by.
That's all from us this week. Thanks for listening.